We're nearly there. Our 197.25 mile journey from coast to coast is nearly over as we head into a city of culture. Well, Locks and Quays has almost made it coast to coast. But before we make our way out onto the River Mersey, there's still plenty to see and hear about on this final stretch of this historic canal. We're under starter's orders to take on the canal turn at Aintree Racecourse and then tackle Stanley Dock before crossing the finishing line in spectacular style on our very own ferry across the Mersey. What a huge port may lie ahead, but there's still plenty of countryside to be seen first. Although onwards from Lydiate, I'm presented with an immediate problem: 6 swing bridges in quick succession. Now, I've passed through a few of these since I left Hull, but I am intrigued as to why the canal suddenly has so many as we pass through Goole and then Melling. Thankfully though, Andrew Lawton has joined me to lend a hand and to explain all about this rather underused stretch of the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. So already there's something unusual about this bridge, isn't there? I mean, for example, no cars.
True, and this is the only one down here that hasn't been electrified.
Oh, I see.
It's a pedestrian bridge.
Because I've got all the equipment, I've got the handcuff key and I've got the BW key.
This one's a handcuff key. We just undo the handcuff.
It's a shame that that's necessary, isn't it?
Well, it's the day and age we live in, I'm afraid.
Yep.
And then,
oh, that's right.
You just lift that. Stays up.
It stays
and
up.
then we push.
Okay, you push up, Paul. All right,
Deal?
deal?
Yep, deal.
Here we go. Oh. Actually, it's surprisingly easy, isn't it?
Once you get them moving, there's no problem at all.
Loop. Very fast.
Yep.
So we don't need a BW key for this at all?
No, not for this one. The electric... You need them for all the electric bridges.
Okay.
It's an extra layer of security.
There's a whole series of swing bridges along this section of the canal. Why? What was the rationale behind that, do you think?
Well, as ever, there's 2 reasons: engineering and cost. This is a section of the canal from Aptley Bridge down to Liverpool is basically a contour canal, which means it follows around the side of the hill. So to get across on the level, the swing bridge is the simplest solution. If you build up and over, you've got big embankments either side and all the stonework. And of course, in those days, most of the bridges were just accommodation bridges for farmers. So they didn't have any great reason to have a major bridge over unless it was a major road.
We're in really an industrial part of the country, and I would expect that this canal would have industry on either side. But look, there's green fields, there's people mowing cricket pitches, and for goodness sake, we're out in the countryside, aren't we?
Oh yes.
Where's our nearest, biggest town?
Well, Liverpool is obviously the biggest, nearest town. We skirt round the Melling, which is a very rural section, through Aintree. We skirt round the outside of the conurbation, really, until we get to Liverpool. And it's only in the last section where you get the sort of real industrial areas.
So it's all very nice and pretty, but we've had a warning, haven't we, about weed? What's all that about? You get a warning?
Yes. Unfortunately, down in the remainder length, the other side of the old Rhone, and just this side, the weed does get bad. There's various foreign weeds got in. They did have a floating matweed, which was like cotton wool, but they got rid of that by putting a little beetle in, which ate it all. It's
Very
brilliant.
convenient.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
And of course, that's the worst stuff to get around your propeller, isn't it?
Yeah, the cotton wool bud doesn't drive you very far.
No.
The main way of getting rid of the wheat is to dredge it, because it lives in shallow water, and unfortunately, because it's a remainder length down from the old roan, they can't do any dredging.
Later on, we'll hear more about Liverpool's brand new canal link, and along with this expansion, the dredging of this stretch of water will soon allow pleasure boaters the opportunity to start travelling through these suburbs on a far more regular basis.
That's Aintree Racecourse, isn't it?
It is indeed, yes.
Do you know, the only time I've ever seen Aintree Racecourse and its famous canal bend is when it's been packed with thousands of people. A bit different today.
It is indeed, yeah.
Do you think that Aintree has the canal to thank for its existence?
As a village, I suppose it does. We're right on the outskirts of Liverpool, so Aintree Village is exactly what it was then, just as another stopping place on the canal.
I wonder if when the races are about to start, people arrive by helicopter and by Rolls Royce and by push bike. Do they arrive by water?
Yes, there's usually about 20 or 30 boats come down here. Unfortunately, since the bomb scare, which you may remember, we're not allowed to moor on the course side. We have to moor on the towpath side.
And how do you get across?
Well, you don't. You stand on the roof of your boat and watch them come up the straight, round the canal turn, and off down again.
To say it's a contour canal, it's remarkably straight, is it not?
Yes, this bit is on a slight embankment, because obviously they couldn't just go straight round all the contours. So in places they've had to compromise, but generally it is a contour. And of course, this slight embankment is made by digging the canal out and putting it at the sides to form the bank at either side.
Yes, because we are lifted.
So effectively, you're still on the contour, on the level ground.
Well, the start of our journey may seem like a distant memory right now, but let's not forget the vessel that set us on our way from one coast to another. And visitors to Goole will soon discover that the Sobriety also plays a crucial role for those who need a helping hand, more than most.
Sobriety is the vessel that gives its name to the project, and the project over the last 35 years has worked with people who are quite seriously disadvantaged. And what we do is to use the waterways, the magic of the waterways, as a resource for learning, confidence building, pathways to employment, and so on. There's sobriety, first of all. That, of course, means temperance and abstinence from alcohol. And then we have two boats that were presented to us by Hull City Council, Opportunity and City of Hull, and very interestingly a floating art gallery, which is called Room 58. That's Ranks Hovis McDougall RHM 58, that was built in 1923 to carry grain up the River Hull to the Joseph Rank Mills. And that serves as a floating art gallery.
There's more to the Sobriety Project, though, than re-educating, with school and other day trips regularly enjoying the other amenities available at the Yorkshire Waterways Museum. And back on dry land, people with disabilities are given the chance to express themselves too.
We use the museum as a resource for training. You might be on a pathway to employment helping in the cafe, which is serving the needs of visitors as they come to see the museum. So it's really a matter of turning everything that we have, our assets, into a resource that's going to benefit people who are disadvantaged. We believe that the waterways have got a great deal to offer, and they've got a huge potential that's not really being realised in any significant way at all nationally. So that's, nationally speaking, that's our plan for the future.
The Sandhills area near Kirkdale signals a sudden change in my scenery. Yep, we're back to a working canal, fed by a thriving port, with a few modern additions added for good measure. And although the weather may not be in the best of moods, I certainly am. Stanley Dock stands at the foot of these locks, and beyond there, the River Mersey. The Mersey stands tantalisingly close as I inch towards the conclusion of my coast-to-coast journey. In fact, I'll be there in a matter of minutes.
Well, 2008 may be Liverpool's year, but boaters throughout the country are due to benefit through the opening of the canal link. Now, this link means that the boats will be able to travel to within 100 yards of the city centre streets, and it eliminates the need to sail out onto the Mersey as so many boats have done for so long.
Liverpool's complex combination of docks meant that it was always easier for narrowboats to go the long way round, head onto the river and cruise down a mile or two before mooring up near Albert Dock. But soon you'll be able to leisurely glide through the central docks and past the famous Three Graces instead. In the summer of 2007, dozens of boaters spent 10 days moored up in the city before making one last trip out onto the river. So we decided to share one final momentous journey with two long-time boating enthusiasts who come all the way from Long Beach, California, to take part.
We do a lot of stuff like this because if you're into narrowboats, you sort of are into all the stuff that goes with it, which is all of the trips and the unusual aspects of it. And this, we've done quite a few of those kind of things. We've gone down the Manchester Ship Canal on a trip. We've gone up the Weaver River. We've done a lot of things where there were organized trips to go places. And when we heard about this, number one, we wanted to go to Liverpool, and for 10 days, that's great, right? I mean, we've got, what do we have here? We've got a flat in the docklands at Liverpool, right, that we can stay in and do whatever we want. And secondly, this is the last time they're going to do this. They won't let narrowboats out there anymore. They'll let sailing boats, they let rowboats, they let everybody, but they won't let us out of it. So this is it. If you look over at the edge, you'll notice that they've lowered the lock down to about 6 or 8 inches. It's not very far. That's what they had told us it was going to be. The water here is now level with the water in the river. The tide is still coming up in the river, so actually this lock's going to go up again, but we're going to be gone. We've just come out of Canning Half-Tide Lock, one behind us, and we're now out on the Mersey River. The tide is still slightly coming in. This up and down business we're feeling makes canal boaters very nervous. Because on the canals there's no motion whatsoever. And you got to remember, canal boats are not built, they don't have a keel. A sailboat or a large boat has a keel, goes the whole length, which gives them front fore and aft stability. The whole boat can't break in half, whereas these are just got a flat plate bottom. So you get a canal boat across two big waves, and the middle of it could break in half. That's the first thing that scares them. The other is they're not terribly stable this way, rolling. And so if you got caught in waves coming along the side of you, in big enough waves, this boat could actually roll over, and that's really embarrassing. That's the kind of story you'll never live down in your cruising club, you know, when you go to meetings and everybody's drinking. So I'm being very careful not to roll this boat over.
For one thing, this is going to be the last time, supposedly, that there'll be canal boats out on the Mersey. And my husband has always wanted to come across. And we hadn't been to Liverpool. We've only been here on a visit a short time. And we thought, well, this would be really good. And I could probably stand being out on a river for as long as we had to be out, you know. And so we decided if we could do it, we would.
Well, it's great. It's fun to look around and see this whole crowd just heading up the Mersey River. It's fun to go on the outside of a city and look and see what the sea view of it is. Like if you look just at the Three Graces there, a guy coming in on a sailing ship in 1784 saw exactly the same thing we're seeing right now.
It's kind of nice to be a part of it, you know, but I hope that it doesn't really quit. I hope that they bring boats across from the Manchester Ship Canal still, coming down from the Weaver River or coming out Ellesmere Port and coming across. All of these boats today could go across this river without too much trouble. And we certainly could have gone across the day we came. Now I realize this river is not always like that, but I think it would be very exciting for them to be able to still do that. I can't part with this boat. I mean, it's going on its 18th season. It's 17 years old, and I still love it. It's a great life.
This is the last time I'd ever get a chance to see something like that. This looks just like what it would be in 1845 or 1796 if you were coming into the lock. You'd see these tall ships going out, and I'd never see that again because they won't let us back out here again probably. So this is great. I'm as you say in England, I'm chuffed.
Here we go then. Just 2 locks to go, and we're there. Now, I've worked my fair share of these over the past few days, so the hard-working British Waterways staff who have joined me have offered to fill in. And to be honest, I do feel much more at home at the tiller. It's hard to believe just how far we've come over these 10 episodes, having passed by boatloads of smiling faces and, of course, some of Yorkshire and Lancashire's most spectacular places. 197.25 miles after we joined the Humber at Hull, we've shared an epic journey from the North Sea to the Irish Sea, covering the Aire and Calder, through Goole and West Yorkshire, where the Leeds and Liverpool Canal carried us over the Pennines at Skipton, and down through Burnley, Blackburn and Wigan to our final destination, Liverpool and the River Mersey. Stanley Dock will offer me the perfect place to bid Rowan a fond farewell before getting my hands on the 8th different vessel that I've travelled on, and it's, shall we say, a slightly bigger boat than any of the others.
welcome to my very own ferry across the Mersey. I really am steering this thing, you know. Well, it all started off on the Humber, and then thanks to the River Ouse, the air and colder navigation, and of course the legendary Leeds and Liverpool Canal, we've finally made it. Mission accomplished. Locks and Quays has gone coast to coast. These are just incredible views. It's so stunningly beautiful, but at the same time it's a bit scary, isn't it? Perfect. And it just feels to me like a typical Lowry painting. No tongues. How many times have I told you? Well, yo ho ho, Andy! Goodbye!
It's something!
First time I've heard that today.
South and up into the Lancaster Canal.
Well, that's it. We've arrived. It's the end of the journey. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I'd like to say thank you to everybody who's appeared on the programme and told us such interesting things. And now all that's left is to say goodbye.